you for joining today. We're going to get started here. Appreciate you spending time on this Friday morning to join us and talk about Harvest Profit. So it looks like most of us are current users in the group. So appreciate you being customers, longtime customers, or if you're new, really appreciate the business and you trusting Harvest Profit with your farm financial management software needs. As we go through today, the point of today is to highlight some new features that we've added here in the last couple months. Some of them are maybe a little bit longer term, and then also just kind of go over a little bit more about Harvest Profit. So, being that most of you are um, current customers, we'll skip through most of this pretty quick and get right into the software. But as you all know, if you haven't been using Harvest Profit long, we're here to be a financial management tool to help you make key decisions on the farm and understand more about your operation and the financial metrics behind it. So the key parts of Harvest Profit are going to be calculating profit and loss, your field by field profit and loss, being able to do scenarios and understand different changes on the farm and how it affects your overall profitability. And we're going to deliver that through our web app, which probably most of you are used to, is harvestprofit.com. But I did want to highlight today that we do have mobile apps. So we have a mobile app experience for that's what's playing on the background here is we're seeing the Profit app. We do have a driver app as well for our inventory features. So a little bit about our integration with Ops Center. We do use this as our main source of inputting data now. And the reason that we've gone down this path, obviously being partnered with Deere, but we see that there's a lot of options for getting outside source data into Ops Center easily. So we are working with a lot of customers who use FieldView, Raven products, or other things on their farm. Maybe it's a mixed fleet, or maybe there's nothing green at all in your operation. But we're going to work with you, get that information into one source, bring it together so we can make that harvest profit data easier to analyze. We're going to just keep rolling through this. You guys know Harvest Profit's here to be an easy to use tool. We want it to always be simple, simple budgeting features, easy to utilize existing data on your operation, and just a great tool all around on the farm. So I'm going to skip ahead here a little bit. Essentially today, the goal is to cover three new features. I guess one brand new feature, one feature that's been in for a couple months, and then one feature that we've kind of rebranded in the last couple weeks. So to start off, Wyatt's going to talk about our crop plan map edition that went live this past week. The crop plan map now is the ability to view your crop plan geospatially. So being able to see where we have what planted based on colors and icons to identify crops, being able to sort that by farm and just visualize data and change it easier on a map basis. And then we'll also run through our equipment integration a little bit, kind of explain where we're at, maybe where we're heading. And then the last thing is you may have noticed on the left-hand navigation bar, there was a change to the what if analysis. It used to be called the what if analysis. It's been changed to be called the insurance risk matrix. And we just wanted to highlight that. We get a lot of questions about how to use it. What does it mean? So the naming change was just to help people understand more of the purpose of it. But we wanted to take a quick moment to just run through it. So I'm going to turn it over to Wyatt here. He's going to share his screen and we can start doing a demo.
Thank you, Ben. All right. So last week we sent out an email with the crop planner map. And so what we wanted to do was build a simple mapping tool to see, okay, where are all of our fields, all our crops, like, and so it's a good way to see, okay, what's my diversification? And as far as planning goes, like, all right, what crops am I planting where? And so you can see on my screen, if you go to the crop planner page, we now have a new tab that says map. So when you click on your map, it'll show all of your fields based on the boundary. Now, I'll show you where to do boundaries if you need to, but if you're connected to John Deere Operations Center, your boundaries will pull in automatically from John Deere Op Center. But when you're setting up your crop plan for the year using the map, you have fields that don't yet have a crop set to it. You can simply click on the field that has a circle with the slash through it. And when you click on it, it'll say, ask you to set the planted crop. So then I'll do for this field, I'll do corn. Additionally, it may automatically set the entity or entity share if I've previously applied the entity or entity share before. But if not, you can change it if needed. You simply click the drop down and then choose your entity or entity share. I'll do one more here. So I'll click on the field. I'll click set planted crop. We'll choose my crop and choose my entity share. Additionally, you can change the different colors of crops. So if you have, multiple varieties you want to track, crops, I can choose, if I click on corn here, I can change the color by clicking on the icon right next to the crop label, and I can drag this color line to any color that I want. So it's an easier way to keep track of things if I want to change things for different colors. Additionally, currently we can filter by the farm. So if you have a lot of fields to manage and you want to see, all right, I want to see this group of farms and this group, I can simply click the drop down from farms and see different varieties of farms that I have on my operation. It's pretty simple to use. We're going to think about adding more features to it in the future, but really what we wanted to do was deliver a quick, easy, simple feature for farmers to look at their crop plan by the map. All right. Another one we're going to go through is we got a question here.
If you do have questions, put them in the chat or in the Q&A, and we will get to them when you get them typed out.
Yep. Another thing we released last year was the equipment cost analysis feature. So we wanted to make a feature that farmers could analyze the cost of their equipment, not just on their payments for the year or just their depreciation, right? So farmers, if you're purchasing a piece of equipment, you might be purchasing it at the end of the year, December 31st, for tax purposes. And maybe if you're buying a $200,000 machine, 5-year payment plan, that's rough estimate, $40,000 a year. Well, if you're keeping that machine for 10 years or plan to keep it for 10 years, then your true cost per year is going to be not quite the same as your payment. You can always look at it that way, but we wanted to give farmers the ability to look at it a little differently. So what we can do in our cost analysis tool, let me get rid of this, is you can enter in the financial details of your machines. So if you go to the tools section on the left-hand side of your page and then go to the equipment tab, you can see that your active equipment is pulling in from your John Deere Op Center, but you can also add in your new machines manually if you desire. I'm going to click on my 616R. So I click on it and I can edit the details. So I can edit the details, which shows, okay, what's the type, what's the color, make and model, and purchase date. But then I can go edit the financials of it. So I can put in what my price was, if I have a loan, so if I had any down payment, plus any fees. And then I can just choose, all right, what's my interest rate? So I'll just do 2.5 on a 5-year basis. And then additionally, you can enter in your starting hours. A common question we've had is this depreciation rate. 8% is kind of that common one that we have in there. You can change it to anything. You can do 5, you can do 10, you can do 0. It just depends on what you want to see. And then lastly, most machines are going to have some repairs or maintenance cost. So I'm going to put in, a couple $1,000s for that.
And just to point it out here while Wyatt's filling that out, like that repair cost and other costs is just a placeholder. You can edit those on a yearly basis once we get to the next step.
Yep. After I click save, this will update the financials of it. And what I'm looking at now is a 10-year cost analysis. Now we do have the option to do 10, 15, or 20 years. And then you can also see that this interest paid column is based on those loan details that I entered. So that's going to factor into what the true cost is that we're calculating here in Harvest Profit. Um, so you have on the left-hand side your depreciation, which is based on that percentage rate. Interest paid is from the loan details, any repairs and other expenses. And so we take these into account to adding the true cost over a longer period of time, other than what your actual payment, payment per year is. So that's when we come up with, in this example, for 2025, $33,000 based on that. Additionally, I can enter in budgeted, hours and this cost per hour. So we will be pulling, like we do pull in hours used from Operations Center into Harvest Profit. So you can look at, all right, I use this machine for 296 hours. What's my cost per hour on that? We've got a lot of questions on, all right, what about fuel usage? What about idle time? All those things. They're coming down the road. It's things that we're working on. So in the future, that information and data from Op Center will be utilized. The second part to this is adding this cost to my P&L. So some guys like to just see it this way, but they don't want to have it, entered as this total expense on the P&L. They want to have it with their payment or something else. But if you do want to see this applied to the P&L, you need to go to the inputs page. And if you scroll down into the overhead section, I've got a lot of overhead in here. There is an equipment category. So this equipment category allows me to attach any pieces of equipment that I have filled out in the equipment cost analysis page. So since I made some updates to this machine, I'm going to add this in, and this is my true cost for the year for 2025. I'm actually in 24, but any year that you're doing, it'll add the year from that page in Harvest Profit.
We had one question come in regarding, well, we've had a couple questions. Well, I'll address the one on equipment costs right now. So someone was asking, how do you input a tractor that you previously purchased? So if you open up that machine and go back into the financial details, I
Yep.
believe we can set the purchase year, the purchase lead or slash lease date, previously. So we can go back to like 2022, 21, whatever it was, and it'll create the cost analysis going backwards. So we do have an option there to enter in equipment that was previously purchased.
Here it is. So I'll just do back a year or two.
Another question about geospatial allocations. So this page is the first step of a larger project that's ongoing of getting better at equipment allocation. Um, so just the best way to explain it is we're working on it. So we can pull in hours by location right now, a little bit, but I shouldn't say like we're not doing that in Harvest Profit, but then the ability is there to start looking at geospatial in the future. So we're definitely looking at going down that path as a company to start looking at how do we allocate hours of machine costs by field. There are some unique edge cases yet that we're trying to solve. And I like to just kind of mention it here. So like people are asking like, why aren't you doing this? This is available. It seems easy. The hard ones are like for harvest. We have the biggest example is like a grain cart. There's a tractor, a grain cart in the field operation, but there's no hours being recorded to that boundary just because there's no data being logged essentially with that pass. There's some other examples like that. And then another example we've gotten is where people want it geospatially allocated. We could have the potential of like maybe we have a new combine and then we have a 5-year-old machine in the same field. And all of a sudden we do the cost analysis and maybe one side of the field's less profitable than the other just because of the different machine was used geospatially. So we are trying to go through conversations of how detailed do we want to get. It's potential that we probably would want to go down a route of like cost averaging multiple machines in the similar operation type, so that parts of a field aren't less profitable just due to a higher depreciation rate. So there's, as you can probably tell, we've done a lot of thinking on this. We've done a lot of pre-work on how to make this happen. And at the end of the day, we wanted to just start with something simple that users could start playing with, get feedback on it, and just let you know that we are working on the overall project. But there's a lot of little edge cases of how are we going to handle this, how are we going to allocate costs, and do it in a way that makes sense for everyone. So appreciate if anyone has feedback, let us know. We'll work through that. Probably this is a great point. Also, this past week or 2 days ago, we did send out an email asking for customer feedback. So you should see an email. I think it came from Harvest support at harvestprofit.com. Um, you would have seen there would have been a survey there to fill out a link. You can still go there, fill that out, add feedback as well. So just letting you guys know that that is coming in our, I shouldn't say it's coming, it's in our roadmap to explore further.
Thank you, Ben. One last note on this equipment page is that you can export to a PDF or Excel report. So just like any of our other pages, it is exportable to make reports. We had a question about color-coded yield maps for each field. Ben, do you want to touch on that?
Uh, as far as profit, I'm just reading it. So I guess I'm not exactly sure on the question there, but as long as if you can get any layer of data in Op Center through third-party connections or just manual uploading. So like if you upload a piece into Op Center and it shows up in your Field Analyzer tab, we can import it into Harvest Profit. Yield maps, we don't we display them on the profit map page. You can see them there, but they don't actually get displayed anywhere else in the system. So just kind of letting you know what the process is there. So thanks, Hayden, for the comment about enterprise level versus field level for equipment cost. Obviously, you can if you're doing that analysis on your own, you probably understand that as we all want to get deeper with equipment analysis, there is a point where it gets to be too deep, and you'll spend all day working through through calculations that probably won't make sense to your operation. All right. I just want to highlight two questions on Crop Planner. So I typed one question in here or one answer in here. Just wanted to make sure that everyone saw that. Is there a way to export the crop plan maps? Currently, there's not. That is a open request going forward. I would assume we will see that at some point. There's just no timeline on it right now. And then someone asked if we can we split a field with two different crops in Crop Planner. So Wyatt looks like you're going to show that right now.
Yep. So you absolutely can. You can add two, three, four, five crops, whatever you need to do. There's an add crop button right below the crop that you have already listed on the farm. So if you click add crop, there'll be an option to select an additional crop, and you can change the acres as needed. So if I need to split up this 286 acre field, I can do 186, and then the other one is 100 acres. So absolutely can do multiple crops on a field.
And then I know we saw some examples of this wide on the crop plan map. So remind, or maybe you don't know this yet either. There's some open questions on this, but I believe once planting data is in, are we able to pull the planting data to display two crops on a field on the crop plan map?
On the crop planner page, it will. So currently, it's one of those things we're still working on. But if you have two crops, you might have an overlaying icon with one color. We're kind of working on a way to render that as multiple crops. Especially if you don't have the applied data, like it's hard for us to know what part of the field it is. So, like I said, right now, it's a initial simple version to just get crops on the map, but we are going to be adding a little bit more functionality to it to be able to plan different parts of your field. So in the future, it's going to be a little bit more versatile, but right now it's just kind of a simple map feature. Another question that we had highlighted was double cropping. Yes, so double crops would be managed the same way. If you have a corn or a soybeans and wheat double crop, the biggest thing is with if there's, double cropping, and then what we kind of refer to as true double crop, where you harvest two crops in the same season. Make sure that, like, if that's the case, it's all in the same year, and you can do it twice over the field. So I could have, soybeans for 286 acres and then wheat for 286. Absolutely.
One thing to point out with that feature is it's going to split the land cost in half then. So we don't have a way to allocate more of the land cost to the first or the second crop. I know there's some feature requests around that, but right now it's just going to evenly spread out that cost based on the total acres that are being planted. So it's going to look at there being double the acres planted, so it'll show half the cost of the rent on each part of that crop.
You could do a workaround. Instead of entering in the rent on your land cost page, you could enter it in as a custom category and just allocate it to this certain field and crop. So there's a little workaround there, but yep, thanks, Ben, for that clarification.
We did answer the question about printing the map, so there's no way to export or print right now. That should be coming in the future. Someone asked about hybrid selection in that crop planner map. So currently we don't have anything there. That was another thing that's come up a few times since releasing this. So it is on a feature list. I'd assume why it's got that on his radar for going forward, but nothing today there for that. So as we have one more thing we're going to cover. We can still talk on this, but I just want to remind people, if you have any question, and it doesn't have to regard what we're talking about right now, start throwing those in the Q&A or chat, because we will spend some time after we're done with our content, and go forward.
Ben,
So
I'm gonna touch base on just one small feature here, and then we'll move on to the insurance risk matrix. So the common question that we have is, it's like, oh, how do I make changes to data coming into Operations Center or coming in from Ops Center? If I have incorrect, units applied in Ops Center. So let's say I apply something in dry ounces when it should have been fluid ounces. Well, there's two ways. First way is you can go into your field, on the applications page, click into your application, and choose the unit type that you need. So if it's kilograms, tons, pounds, ounces, fluid ounces, you can change that here on the application level. The other way to do it, we did add a bulk tool to change it. So if I click on this little icon, here it says this 6 means that I have applied 2800 6 times. So if I click on that little icon, a window will pop open, and this will show me every time that 28 was applied. And let's say I have, a massive amount of errors or issues. I can select all these different applications, or pick and choose certain ones, and then I can do a bulk action to set the unit or to even set the product. So it's just a different way to make some changes in Harvest Profit, if you need to update some of your data. So additionally, you can do set units and product.
all right, let's move on to the insurance risk matrix. So keep those questions coming in. We'll still cover them. We'll go backwards when we get there, but we will review those after this page. So just wanted to highlight, we changed this from being the what if analysis to the insurance risk matrix. It got a little bit of a facelift on the user experience here in the last couple months too. And we're going to start off and we'll talk about revenue protection insurance and how that looks on this page, and give you a little bit of an example. So this page is designed to show you where your risk lies, whether you have insurance or not. So if Wyatt was to select no insurance in the crop insurance selector at the top right of the page, what this page is doing is it's just doing a break-even analysis. So based on your cost per acre of production, based on the yield, which we're seeing on the left side of this graph, and the price at the top side, it's just going to calculate profitability at those scenarios. So essentially, if it's a $5 crop, 100 bushel yield, it's going to say there's $500 of revenue. But if Wyatt, it looks like our cost per acre is 550. So if I look at that, do we even have 100 on here? 100 at $5 is going to show us where our loss is. And I'm assuming there's sold production. That's why we're seeing it. It's not quite. So if you click on that cell, Wyatt, the 50 and 500 or 150 bushels. Man, I can't talk. $5 and click whatever. Wherever we click, we're good. We're gonna click on it, and it's gonna tell you what we're calculating. So we're gonna calculate revenue, if there's an indemnity payment or not, and then we're also gonna tell you expenses and then contract premium or loss as well. So explain this in insurance terms. So if Wyatt goes out, I think we're clicked into RP. So we have revenue protection selected. We have a 70% coverage. The nice thing about this is if we can just go and type in, go from 70 to 80, Wyatt, and we can see this graph will change. And now we can see where that risk changes. So you can't see where our loss is anymore based on our current cost of production and numbers that we have in contracts and insurance. So this is a great way if we're coming up on renewal season for crop insurance. Use this to kind of view how your risk looks for certain crops. Um, we do also show just standard yield protection as well and revenue pricing with harvest price exclusion and just straight catastrophic insurance options as well. Um, but you can just play around with those tools and we can do this by crop as well. So you can create a different what if analysis or excuse me, insurance risk matrix for each of your crops. So a great way to look through the different risks on the farm. All right, so we're gonna start going through a lot of these questions. Wyatt, let's start the last one on this list is what if the unit of measure is shown as inapplicable? I I haven't seen that error before, so you'll have to.
It's incompatible. So I'll just make an example here. Um, if I can find one here. It's kind of hard sometimes to replicate. So I don't have an example showing here, but there sometimes is an error that shows as a incompatible units. What this means is that the unit that you have applied to your field application. So for example, this map application, it's in pounds, right? Well, on the inputs page, I have it set to let's see, I have it set to tons. So I purchase it in tons. Well, if I actually change this, I'll get rid of this here. If I change this to gallons, for example, and I go back to my applications page, you're going to see that one or more products are applied with incompatible units. So it just means that the inputs page unit does not match the application page unit. We show this error to say, okay, there's something going on, you need to fix it. So it's either fixing it on the application item level or on the input item level and just simply saying, okay, I purchase it in tons. I need to make sure that I have it entered as a price per ton. Now, additionally, if you purchase a liquid, like liquid fertilizer in tons, we do have this liquid density calculator because you're applied in gallons, but you purchase it in tons, enter in the liquid density. So in this case, for 28, it's 10.67 pounds per gallon, and that will make the conversion on our end so that you can apply it in gallons without receiving that error.
All right. So can we batch set rate? I believe we can, right? On that.
Not right now. I'm going to take that down as a note to add in the future.
All right. We're gonna be kind of bouncing around now for everyone to finish this out, I think. So someone asked some questions on the insurance risk matrix. Can it be changed based on farm for crop insurance? So right now that insurance risk matrix is it's a one report for for whatever you're viewing. The thing is, if you go click on it, Wyatt, you can export this report. So you can export a report at 80% RP, and print off the PDF report, and then you could go change this to maybe you have different insurance level, so on a different unit or something, however that may be in the farm. You can run the analysis a different way, export it out and save it as well. So that would be your options there. But right now it's not, you can't create a what if analysis for each unit. Um, so I'm gonna ask how we adjust cotton prices on reports. So I'm gonna just kind of guess where this question is going. So Wyatt, go to the reports page. So cotton should be a futures connected crop. So any crop that has a futures database connection is going to automatically feed in that futures price plus the basis you set in the software. I'm not exactly sure how that works for you cotton guys, so you might have to correct me. But so for corn, soybeans, wheat, we're all familiar with what basis is. You add the basis in yourself in that crop settings tab at the top right of the page. So then what we do then is we take futures plus that basis you set in. So if you have a negative basis, we're removing that off the futures price. But if you did want to run this report at a different level than what the futures market is or what your sold pricing is, there's a budget toggle. So there's a budget price toggle, and that will set your crop prices to a preset value. So you can go into that same crop settings tab, go to the budget price settings, change them, click the toggle, and now we can set a locked in price to run the report at. So, Joe, hopefully that answered your question. If not, email us at, well, I should tell anyone if you have questions we don't get answered today, email us at support at harvestprofit.com. We'll get that in the chat and stuff too, so you know how to use that.
We got another question about bringing in maps from John Deere Op Center. If you have questions about profit maps, we're gonna just suggest that you email our support team. Sometimes it's an Op Center thing of getting your maps downloaded. Sometimes it could take a while. So just email us there and we'll make sure to get your profit maps up and running.
But another question about if I share a John Deere Op Center account with another operator slash neighbor, can I pull in just my fields for Harvest Profit? So when you connect to Operations Center for the live connection, we do ask you which fields you want to import, and you can select individual fields however you want to dice it up, and you can always change that in the future as well. So it's very flexible for those situations where you maybe have custom farming ground or things in there that you don't want to track in Harvest Profit, but you still need to keep inside of your Operations Center account. Uh, Someone asked about a major repair on the equipment tab. How do you handle that correctly so it all doesn't enter into 1 year? We have had some people adjust the machine value. So say, for example, like if you're running a tractor or a track tractor and you had to put new tires or new tracks on it, there's a significant change in, like significant cost to that, but it also affects the value of the machine. So sometimes people will increase, there's some ways to play with the machine value as well or depreciation rates to help spread that out. Um, and not record it as necessarily a single year cost. So it does get to be a little bit challenging how to record that. You can break it up if you know you plan on keeping that tractor for several years. Some people will just break it up and carry that cost over 2, 3, or 4 years. So someone else asked about the equipment loans. If you listed out your current loans in the equipment tab, or excuse me, if you have your payments set up in the payments tab and then you import equipment, is it doubling up? Yep, it is. So if you're going to switch to using our equipment cost calculator and doing the calculations for your equipment based on that, you will want to, most likely you're going to want to remove the payments. You're going to be doubling up at least the interest side of the payment for sure. So it's just a different way of thinking about payments and equipment cost. So technically in our calculator, we're not considering the principal as a hard cost to your profitability. The principal payments are not negatively affecting your profit and loss, your break evens. Obviously, it affects your cash flow on the farm, but we're not a cash flow calculator. So that's why if you are tracking it differently today, if you want to keep tracking it that way, go ahead. This is just kind of a different method to look through the hard costs. What is my actual physical cost of owning that piece of equipment when it comes down to depreciation, interest, repairs, maintenance, and taxes and insurance and those types of things. Uh,
Another question we had here was, how do I import another field from John Deere Operations Center? Simply go to your account settings page and then go to integrations. And here you can click on configure, and that will open up the field import window for you to select your other fields to import. Oh, I guess I misread the question. Importing fields from not from Operations Center. So if you're tracking your field operations in, let's say, Climate Field View, you can make a connection from Op Center to Field View. And so Op Center can pull in all that data, and then we can pull that into Harvest Profit from Operations Center. So they do have it's called the data retrieval tool in Op Center. If you have any questions on that, we got some info on that we can send you. Just email support@harvestprofit.com. If you're tracking things in, like Precision Planting or Trimble, right now we don't have any other integrations. If you are able to put your data through like a panorama or some other tool to convert to a shapefile, then you can upload that into Op Center and then into Harvest Profit after that. So, in the future, we haven't really talked about other integrations, but that's kind of where we're at today.
so if you have, okay, we answered that one already. Sorry, we're just going through all these questions, make sure we get everything answered.
There's a question about how do I copy things forward from 24 to 25? So when I'm starting out a new year, what's the best way to get started? So typically the first thing you'll want to do is copy your inputs forward. So we do have an inputs copy feature that you can send forward. So if I select the year, I can do 2024 and then into 2025. That will allow me to change put my inputs from 24 and then copy them into 25.
The question was what automatically moves forward. The one thing that automatically moves forward is your field and land cost list. So the field list, the field acres, and then the land costs associated with those fields will roll forward automatically, as long with, I believe, the crop shares or the shares on the crop planner page too for entity shares. So those are automatic, and then like Wyatt said, inputs can be copied as well. But there's also like applications. We can copy applications forwards. We can copy templates. A lot of things can be copied forward. They're just not automated because we don't want to just fill your account full of unnecessary data if you're not going to use it. I had a couple questions on budgeting. So one thing I just want to point out is Harvest Profit is a great tool for budgeting for 25. So if you haven't started 2025, year in your account, great time to get into it. We have tools. So why it's on the applications page, you'll see a sub tab at the top of the page. It says templates. Templates are an awesome way to create a plan of what you're doing to show. And so here's pulling up a plan. We can put in different budgets. We can select what a crop it applies to, and then we can automatically apply it to those crop types that are the same. So great planning tools to make a profit and loss ahead of time. We don't have any current integration with Work Planner within JD and Op Center, but so planning does have to happen separately.
One additional tool that we did add is that if you have applications, let's say in 2024, that are pretty similar to what's going to be in 25, so if you have similar tank mixes or starter applications, you can actually turn those applications into a template. So if I look at my this corn field here, and I want to see like my nitrogen is going to be similar this year, along with my corn post application, I can actually click the checkbox for those applications. And then in the upper right-hand corner, I can click convert two applications into a template. So if I click on that, this will then create a new template on my templates page. Let's give that a second. I go to my templates now. I think it's It's this one here. So post one, soybean. What it does is whatever applications that you choose, it turns those application descriptions into the name, and then you can just go and rename it.
All right, we had one question on some detailed P&L reporting. So someone is asking, is there a way to break down if each cost in that report? For example, if I click on fertilizer in the report list, it just breaks it down as fertilizer. So why I can show you when we're on the profit and loss report, we do have this ability to do the dive in, essentially where you can click on fertilizer. It'll tell you the products that make that cost center up. If you click on the product, it'll then show you which fields it was applied to as well. So if you print out these PDF reports, we don't include all those details right now, but there are some other ways we can get some more breakdowns of input usage by field. So on the reports page, the top of the page, we do have an inputs usage report. That inputs usage report can be broken down by total, by crop, or by field, by entity, or by farm. So this is a great way to analyze like what was used where. And then we also show, and I guess this is a newer feature too we should have talked about, but it shows usage and purchase and then what's remaining based off the usage. So this report can be sliced and diced by field, by farm, owners. Great tool to also use for people with crop shares if you're trying to figure out how much a landlord needs to be billed for their portion of inputs. This report will show you as well. So we don't have implement tracking yet for acres per year automatically. That's some stuff that's coming down the pipeline in the future, being able to start looking at allocating acres and hours to machinery. Uh,
A question was like, how do I track custom farming and the inputs with that custom farming? So there's not like a perfect way to tracking that. What you can do is set a couple different options. You can set up your custom farm as like a separate entity and then track all those fields and inputs under that entity. So you can just simply select the entity for those fields on the crop planner. And this way you can still purchase and add the input cost on the inputs page. And then at the end of the year, you can build out a report for those fields saying, okay, this much was used for custom fields. And so the only thing is that you just want to be careful on what you're filtering for on the P&L because you don't want those acres to get tied into your farm's acres. And if it's a little more complicated custom work, feel free to give us a shout, email us, and we can walk you through that.
all right, and then there's questions about this being recorded. Yes, this is recorded. We will send this out the same way we sent out the invite to this, so we'll send it out to everyone. So good question from Bo. How do we track fertilizer spreading charges? Wyatt, do you want to show how to add a miscellaneous cost to a application?
Yep.
And then
We
while
go
you're getting that spun up, Hayden, you had some questions on some applications getting reassigned. I'll have Wyatt. We'll reach out to you after this call and try to figure out what you're exactly seeing there. But it will point out like if your applications in a template are auto applied by crop type, if you switch crops and to a crop that's not listed on that auto applied list, it's going to remove those applications from that field. So not sure if that's what you're seeing, but we can reach out to you after the call.
adding a miscellaneous cost for like a fertilizer charge. So if I go to my seeding operation and I also had fertilizer, I can add my fertilizer, just quick, put that on there. And then if I have a cost assigned with that, I can add a miscellaneous cost. So let's just call it, $4 an acre. Now, I can either assign this to a custom category saying fertilizer charges, or if I just want to see it under the cost of my fertilizer overall, I can select the fertilizer category. If I scroll down to select fertilizer, so that will show that cost on the P&L under that standard fertilizer category. So some guys like to break it out, fertilizer charge. It just kind of depends on how you want to see it.
Yeah, I kind of missed I was reading some questions here, but just wanted to clarify too. Any custom category you create on your inputs page is selectable in this category drop-down list, even if it's blank. Like if you go and create a custom category and you don't use it on your inputs page, you can select it from this list. So typically what I see, Bo, is like what I do on my farm is I create a category that's custom application, and that's exactly where I would tag this charge to. And then on our profit and loss page, you would see a custom application category or line item, and we could see which fields are applied to. So we also have a hard stop here pretty quick. So we are going to be wrapping this up in the next like minute or two. Appreciate everyone coming on the call. Some good suggestions in here as well. Someone asked about fuel costs. Right now, we aren't importing fuel costs from or fuel usage from Op Center. That's some more opportunity to come down in the future. Had some feature requests in here. Just Matthew, we did see your comments here about being able to collapse categories so we don't have such a long scroll list on our inputs page. Definitely hear you there. Oh, what else we have here? So inputs usage today, Ty, is only seed chemical and fertilizer, what we consider applied inputs categories. But that's a good suggestion about eventually being able to add other objects into that or other categories of fuel and utilities and possible things there. So definitely noted. That's an anonymous, someone that didn't have a name on their question, a little bit about our pricing structure. So Harvest Profit continues to be a separate billing entity. So you continue to see like our connection with John Deere has been 4 years now since we've been acquired by Deere. So nothing is changing on that front of how we send out invoices or things like that. If you're in the US, it still comes from Harvest Profit as a separate entity. So nothing is changing there. Nothing's changing with how we handle subscriptions. We've been doing things the same way we've been doing it for the last since 2016. So happy to answer any questions there in more detail than that. But we will continue using our Stripe platform for payments.
Another question on importing applications from Operations Center. The question was, does it update automatic or does it update while running everything through Op Center? So when you make an application, complete an application in Operations Center, and it's like it shows up now in Op Center, then it's available to import into Harvest Profit. So once it's completed, like that connection will update in Harvest Profit. And then when you go to your applications page and you click on a field, there's a machine data window that opens up. And this means that all these applications here have been completed in Op Center and are now available to import into Harvest Profit. So then now I can go and select these applications and I can import them as I desire. So we don't automatically import everything just because we know there can be mistakes made in Op Center, and we want to make sure that there's clean data coming into Harvest Profit.
All right. With that, we're going to wrap up here. We got one last question. So, on fuel, is there a way to enter any details on the purchased amount? So, we have not added the purchasing details like we do with applied inputs to fuel yet. We'll take that down as a note to be able to do that so you can start entering invoice numbers or dates and amounts as well. So, thank you everyone I think we went through like 46 questions. So, that was awesome. Appreciate everyone's question. And well, we got one last one we're gonna run through. We'll do one more. This was the last one for you guys. can you make changes in the machine data before you add it to the applications? So anything that gets applied from our ops center data can be edited. We can change the product, we can change the amounts, the rates, everything can be edited. The thing to point out, once you import it and make those edits, they do not push back into Operations Center. So if you want your Operations Center account to be your your data truth point, start the edits there. Once you edit it there, we can pull it in to the correct amount. If you're wanting to just edit it in Harvest Profit, you have the opportunity to do it just from there. It's just not going to update backwards. So thank you everyone for joining along today, asking great questions. We'll do more of these in the future again. It's been a little bit, been a little while, but I appreciate everyone's time, everyone's feedback, and we'll keep doing these to make sure we keep you guys informed about what we're doing on our software. And again, appreciate all of your business, all your comments, all your requests. We do appreciate hearing from your customers. So if you have any questions after today, email us support@harvestprofit.com or go to our harvestprofit.com/call to set up a phone call with our team. I threw both of those in the chat, so if you need to be able to grab those, you can. But with that, thank you everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.